Hi everyone, I thought it was about time I did a little bit more in this Wonder Room picture from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. We did do the fish tank a long time ago, and then I did the this one, the lamp, Tiffany lamp with the gold base. But I have had some requests for certain bits of this page. One of them was for the pictures. Now there's a lot of pictures. The ones on the facing page are more ornate than the ones on this page. I thought I would start with this sort of spoon picture and maybe do a few other bits here, and then I will move on to some of the other things that have been requested. It will be a series of videos. I won't pop it all in the same one. Now we're using Polychromos pencils for this. So I'm just going to get going with the spoons to start with. I'm going to make all the spoons the same colour. It's easier that way. I'm going to make them all silver. These remind me of collectible spoons. So I'm going to start with cold grey 4. Sorry, I'm not zoomed in that closely, so you may not be able to read this. I'm going to zoom in a little more for you because you want to be able to see what I'm doing. There? I can't see the best way for you to read it. Anyway, so I'm going to start with this is the darkest grey that I'm going to use on the spoons, and I'm going to do this all the way around the edge of each one. Because the handles are small, it covers the whole handle. The idea was to try to leave a bit of a gap, but it didn't happen. And then just do a few less layers coming in towards the middle of the spoon, so it's more defined on the outside. The silver is quite tricky. I haven't 100% mastered it. Gold I find easier. I'm ignoring these lines on the spoon because they are little. I'm just colouring them as if they're a print rather than an indentation. It's a bit easier that way. I think because gold has a selection of different colours, so you've got your browns and your different shades of yellow, whereas with silver you've basically got grey, and trying to make it look shiny and not just a dull grey can be tricky. We need to make sure that we leave some white to show the shine on the items. That's quite interesting. I've just noticed that my display is no longer telling me how much space I have left on my card that I record onto. So I shall have to be a bit careful with that. Now some of these now go behind objects. See, this one is hidden behind here and this one is hidden behind here, so that's quite useful. But this one, look, shows through a little bit, so we need to make sure we remember to colour that a little bit. Now I had an aunt who used to collect silver spoons. When her family would go away on holiday, they would bring her back a spoon from wherever it was that they had been. Now this is that was actually cold grey 6 and this is cold grey 4. So I messed that up, didn't I? So be careful when you're picking. But if you did use the cold grey 4, just go down 2 tones. You used a cold grey 2 for this next bit. Basically, take that colour a little bit further into the centre, but leave some white. And I can do that a little bit on the handle, but I want to try and leave some white still. And then on this centre part, just try and leave the white to give the impression of shine. So she had all these spoons. I remember helping her to clean them. It was always a big undertaking because she lived with her father who smoked. So there was a layer of sort of cigarette smoke, ash, whatever it is, soot I suppose, on them. I used to really enjoy it, but I would sort of get bored part of the way through, and of course being little, I was probably younger than 10, and being little I could just give up when I got bored and run off and play, whereas the poor grown-ups had to then finish it off. I probably did about 1 or 2, I'm guessing, and in the end she had a special lacquer put on them, so they didn't need such a intensive clean. Now the background of this, I'm thinking if that was silver, I would want them to really stand out. So what would I do for the background? I'm going to just zoom out the tiniest bit so we can see the whole thing. It's a bit more at the bottom. There we go. And do the background. I'm thinking I would have it in a sort of opulent red velvety colour. So I'm going to grab this red. This is the Alizarin Crimson. I don't know if I can bring it up or whether it will never focus. I'm not sure. Sometimes the camera will focus if you bring things closer. But anyway. Now if this is a bit pale, because we've got red here, I might go over it in a darker one. I'm actually going to try and layer it on quite thickly. Being careful here because that's the frame, I think, not the background. So we need to just make sure we pick out the bits that would be at the back. And I'm trying to do a little round and round movement with my pencil because I'm thinking this would be like a sort of velvety background. She had some display ones on the wall. Actually, she got quite a few. I think they were black though, or navy blue. But I think red is a rather nice colour to show off silver. Now I'm going to go back in here. Look, this bit would be red, and in here, up here, and see, this is the top of the egg timer, but it's obviously see-through. So we need to think about doing, I'm going to do a lighter shade, as if, because we're looking through the glass, it's not as vibrant. I mean, if it was really clean glass, you probably would be, but I hope that that gives a bit more of an impression that we're looking through something. Just hoping you can see what I'm doing. It's not too taxing anyway. So just going around all of the little elements, each spoon with the red. That's odd. My video recorder just started or stopped recording. I never use it. Someone else, either be the husband's the only person that uses it. He's obviously set it up to record something that's on. I don't know. I don't watch lots of TV. I use YouTube a fair bit, and if there's a program on I want to watch, I tend to watch it live rather than record it normally, because I have to get really excited about a program to want to watch it, so I don't want to wait until later. I want to watch it there and then. Very occasionally I will record if I'm out, but if it's a program I like, I'm afraid I will try not to go out. I will try and watch it, but there's only, or I'll watch it on catch-up TV. In the UK here we have the TV channels all have sort of websites, and you can go and catch up and watch the programs you've missed on there, so I use those. Now around the very edge of the frame, I think it might be a little bit darker because there'd be some shadow from the sort of frame. The frame would stick out a little bit, so I'm just going to grab a dark red. I think this one will do. Give it a sharpen. Unfortunately it's very small. It's this one, it's number 217. I can find out what it is for you quickly, just because I know it's useful to know the name. 217, there we are, middle cadmium red. So that's that one. I shall leave that book to the side, I'll need it in a minute, I expect. So I'm just going to do a darker outline around here, and my hope is that it looks like shadow, and that will just look like the frame is casting a little shadow on that fabric background. Now you can fiddle with this. You could do it in black or brown if you prefer. I'm hoping that the red will just work. We'll see how it comes out. We need to do a little bit there, just a tiny bit more significant there. And I'm thinking each spoon would have a small shadow under it as well. So just a light mark. You can see what a difference it makes. I can see it makes a really big difference. You can't really see the dark red mark, the spoon just jumps out. I find that really impressive, how simple that is to get that effect. So we do that under every spoon. Oops, someone's sending me a message on Facebook. Oh, well, I'll have to wait a minute for a reply. Unless it's urgent. It's not my children, they're the ones that are the most important. Okay. Now I'd like that, I was going to smooth that red a bit more, but I'm not going to because I want it to look a bit fabricy, like it is velvet, so I'm going to leave it. Now the frame I think would be wooden, that's my impression. So I'm going to grab a brown and do a sort of base in brown. Now this is 182, if you've watched my polys videos before, you know my browns are tiny. This is brown ochre. And I'm going to do all the frame in this, just an even covering. Which words are escaping me today? Oh, I've got to do that a bit lighter, so I'm going to grab the eraser to shiver a bit out. Okay, and oh, we need a bit there as well. What's that? Oh, it's a bit of that, isn't it? Now, of course, we've got an egg timer here, which I'll probably do wooden as well. So I'll leave this wood quite pale. But we want it to look a bit more like wood than it does at the moment. So I'm going to use a brown, a darker brown, to just grab this one. This is number 280, which is burnt umber. It's just a really dark brown. It needs to be really, really sharp. So, and what we need to do is just do these little lines, and it makes it look like there's some sort of unevenness in the frame, and hopefully looks a bit more like wood. If your pencil gets blunt, you need to resharpen it to get this looking right. It's going to be quite hard to do them here, to make them show up without them looking too dark, but I think that's okay. So there's our spoons, so that's that done. How long have we been? Okay, let's move on and do another item. See, we have a lamp here. Now we could do that as metallic, but we've got our gold here and our silver here, so I'm thinking maybe we could do it dark like a pewter, or we could do it as if it's more like a brass. Now brass is quite interesting. I find it a little bit trickier, but perhaps we'll have a go. Perhaps I'll stretch myself. So firstly we need a dark brown. I'm going to go back to using this burnt umber that we were using before, and we need to think about all the areas where it's going to be a little bit darker, more shadow. So under the handle here, under here, and at the sides, and I'm just trying to fade it inwards. I think inside the spout's going to be quite dark, isn't it? And what we need to also be careful of is we've got sand in our egg timer, and we need to make sure that shows up against the colour of this lamp. I think that'll do for the burnt umber. Oops. And I'm going to grab this. This is not the colour I wanted. This is the colour I wanted. It's a little bit small. It is the, I'm just trying to sharpen it, but it's really teeny. It is the, I'm not sure. Hang on. I'm going to grab a new one. Excuse me rustling around in my drawer. Where is it? Here it is. Sorry. Here it is. It is burnt ochre. Looks a bit orangey in the camera compared to what it does in real. Anyway, that's too small to sharpen, so can't use that. So I'm going to sharpen it, and I'm going to go back over the areas that I've done already, and then gently pull that colour in, leaving a white gap, and hopefully that will give us an impression of shine. I haven't got any inside there because that's all going to be all dark in there, and it might look like it's a bit bronzy. This, because this is a more orangey colour, it gives the impression of bronze, I always think. Make sure you do the edges and leave the shine in the middle. There we go. I'm not sure how bronzy that looks or how metallic it looks, but hopefully it's a bit more. Hopefully it will sort of look okay. There we go. Now I have got a little bit of time. I'm going to do I think I'll do the egg timer. So we've got the sand in there, so we need that sort of colour. I think I'm just going to go for this, which is the light yellow ochre, and do the sand. I'm wondering if I should zoom in a little bit more for you. There we go, that'll do. So do this sand in this colour. Now this is all behind the glass, of course, but we can sort that out in a minute with a white pen. So here's the sand. Now it's pouring through, which means someone has recently turned it over, which is interesting. Now I'm thinking these three knobs are holding these strips, although there's only two in. I think it's going to be wooden, so I'm going to do a darker wood than I did before. So we're going to go back to our burnt umber to start with and do a and do our base of wood in this colour, so it's really quite a dark colour. Just a light, don't do too much at this point because we're going to layer it up. I'm just sort of identifying what I'm doing, where needs to be coloured at this point, that bit. Sometimes with a page like this where there's a lot of detail, it's not always easy to quite see what's going on, so it's nice to put a light layer down. Now I can see, so I'm thinking about where my shadows will be. So under here, it's going to be a little bit of shadow, I would think, because that's overlapping. And the same here. And what I'm going to do is make it slightly darker here and bring it round lighter. I'm not worried about the fact there's no white here because it's wood. It's not ultra shiny, but there is going to be some difference in the colour. I'm going to do the same here, and it helps to make it look a little bit more rounded because it is a round item. Just going to fade that down a bit. That's it. And then the top. I'm going to do the balls in the wood colour. So I'm trying to make them a little bit darker at the bottom, but it's not working brilliantly. But anyway, there we go. So there's our wood. Now, to give a wood texture like we did on the picture, I'm going to use a dark colour. Now, that's the darkest brown that I've used. So I'm going to use this, which is the it's the sepia. It's dark sepia. Sorry, it's out of shot. And I'm going to use that to just put on the lines that I want to make it look a bit more wood-like. It's nice and sharp, thankfully. Now, I'm not sure about the top here. Just a few, just adds that little look of wood. Now here, where this is see-through, see that bit behind? I'm confused by that. I think that might be the top of the wood. So I'm going to go back in with the umber. Oops. And just colour this bit in brown. There. And now we've got the bits of glass. See that? That one is see-through. And this one is a bit, but we can't see the end of the spoon, but it should really be red, shouldn't it? So we're going to get the Alizarin Crimson. Gosh, that's blurred, isn't it? There we go. And colour in here, but lightly, with our circular motion like we used before, but lightly like we did it up here. So you can see that it's going through something, like that. Now here, got the wall behind, and obviously we haven't done the wall, but I had said when I was doing this fish tank, you can just see the edge of it there, that I was going to do it blue. But I don't know what shade of blue I use for that fish tank, so I'm going to leave that and not colour it at this point. It needs to be the same colour blue as this in there, so we'll leave it. And a light colour, like light pressure like we did with the crimson. So what I'm going to do last is a little bit of white pen. Not sure if this one's working. This is my jelly roll number 8. I'm not sure if it's run out, so we'll find out. And I'm going to put a shine on it on this side. The reason I'm doing it on this side is because that side's white. Simply why we just put a few marks. It's not showing it that well because it's quite a pale item, but hopefully once we put in the bits of blue here, that will look finished. Okay, I'm going to make that do for now. We've been on for a while, but next time I do a video on this, I will do some of the things I've been requested to do, which are on the other side of the page. Let me just zoom out. You can see the full impact of the little area that we have now done. So I think helmet, umbrella, chair, cuckoo clock, pictures, that sort of thing. I shall pick some things and do next time. But thank you very much for watching, and happy colouring.